Purl is such a moving portrayal of the adversity that women face in the workplace. To me, this has to be one of the best pieces Pixar has ever created. The nuance and depth of the story are incredible. Everything feels purposeful. The jokes, environment, and even the progression of Purl's character. All these different elements come together to make a breathtaking piece that we can learn so much from. We can see how difficult it can be to enter a corporate workspace as a woman, the outcomes of toxic masculinity, and the psychological effects of feeling ostracized. Considering that women face rampant discrimination in society, we need stories like this. Purl can teach us the power of empathy and understanding. No one wants to feel excluded or tokenized from an environment based on their appearance. Our jobs take up a considerable amount of our time, so by having a comfortable work environment, we can improve everyone's quality of life. In my opinion, this is the most powerful thing about this short. Throughout this story, we experience a massive change in workplace culture in real time. Look at how happy and fulfilled the characters look compared to before Purl started working at the company. Not to mention, we get to see how this corporate culture impacts men at work. By understanding the significance of this short, we can create an environment where everyone feels included. Today, I wanted to go over the imagery in Purl, talk about its significance, plus how it relates to psychology. I'm Very. If you enjoyed this content, like and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you always see my latest videos. The story begins with a tour of Bro, a male-dominated company. Notice how the colors look homogeneous and lackluster? Purl enters center stage. She's a bubbly pink yarn ball brimming with life, yet everyone at work seems uncomfortable by her presence. The employee who shows her the ropes texts everyone to let them know she's coming. He stares at her, saying unbelievable, and then looks away suddenly. To me, this serves as an allegory for how women often get objectified in the workplace. This next scene shows what I mean. Notice how all the men at work gawk and make snide remarks as Purl walks by. They aren't interacting with her. They are interacting at her expense. As we continue to peruse the office, we see everyone as the same. Same desks, phones, clothes, almost like they are carbon cutouts of one another. Purl is the only one with any style around here. Although the more she stands out, the more she is targeted. The men tell a joke, everyone laughs. Purl tells an equally funny joke, silence. Another example of the toxicity comes in the form of communication. When she gives good input on what the company should do going forward, she's instantly shot down. Why have communality when you can have mindless aggression? There are a multitude of accounts where women have negative experiences while working. Some women are talked over constantly, others have their ideas reworded by a man, and now the same idea has value. These experiences are minimizing and harmful. It can feel isolating to think that we have no input into something we pour our lives into. Look at how lonely and sad Purl seems when the group makes it obvious she isn't a member. Feeling battered and broken, she decides to call it a day, until she gets a moment of inspiration. She decides, if I can't beat them, why not join them? Purl completely changes herself to partake in the toxic culture ever present at Bro. She changes both her appearance and attitude. Instead of being tentative and communal, now she's hyper-aggressive and domineering. Her actions gain recognition from her coworkers. She starts to envision life as one of the bros, hanging out, watching sports, living it up. For a moment, she's captivated by the allure of being accepted, which, as a quick tangent, is one of the struggles of fighting against a harmful culture. It's difficult to push back against vitriol by oneself. Purl falls into the trap for this very reason. A new yarn enters the workplace, which makes Purl empathize with her. The new girl looks crushed. She's already an outcast at her new job. Our hero breaks down and decides she can't perpetuate the system any longer. If she were to tokenize and objectify the new worker, it would be like she's doing it to herself. Purl reaches out and tries to normalize this new person to the crew. After interacting with enough yarn, the men's barriers have been brought down. Everyone at work seems more content. People dress more how they like. Now women's jokes are just as funny as men's. Instead of fighting with different departments for power, they work together for a better outcome. Real-life interactions instead of empty gesturing. All of this was accomplished by one person, Purl. Now that we've gone over the plot and some imagery, let's talk about why this entry is important. Understanding the environments we exist in can help us help one another. To fix a problem, we must first know what it is. Purl shows us, through a first-hand experience, what it feels like to be a woman in a sexist workplace. We see what she sees. This is a powerful way to have an out-of-body experience through media. Even men can understand how bad it feels to be Purl. No one wants to be looked at like this. It doesn't feel good to be gossiped about, ostracized for our appearance. Everyone hates to feel this way, so we should try and alleviate this feeling for everyone. Media like this can spread awareness in a meaningful and powerful way. Children can understand through watching Purl that our assumptions impact our perceptions of reality. Adults, on the other hand, can get a more in-depth breakdown of the lived experiences of women in corporate spaces. We also get to see how easy it can be to fall into corporate culture. Even Purl does at one point. This constant social pressure to act a certain way at work can be overwhelming. If Purl didn't have perspective from her past and current experiences, the company would have stagnated. Only by understanding the norms of Bro could she fight against them. Or how about the men at Bro? They all seem the same, even though they aren't. One of the reasons why I love this short, and I think it's a significant entry, is because it shows how the culture negatively impacts men and women. I've been analyzing this short based on how women feel in corporate spaces, but now I want to switch over for a moment to understand how this culture hurts men as well. The company men at Bro seem happy at first, but how much of this is real versus performativity? They seem confident and cocky, but oftentimes they aren't improving in a meaningful way. Instead of bettering themselves or the company, they target those who they perceive as weak. Interactions like these aren't healthy, and they cause people to isolate themselves from one another. Not to mention how constrictive this workplace attire is. I think it would be cool, at least having different colors at work. No one wants to feel like a drone going throughout their day. Plus, the constant aggression towards other departments at work doesn't feel good for anyone. These men seem happy right now, when they're hyping up beating down the other department, but will they have the same vigor when the company goes under because they can't adapt? These social pressures have a lot of negative consequences for men. If you're a guy who wants to be more communal, then people at work might treat you more like Purl, even though we can see how powerful working together can be. This is why this addition into the Pixar Disney universe is so important. These issues affect all of us. Toxic masculinity is a concept that is highly politicized but has a psychological basis. The basic idea is that there are toxic elements to masculinity that impact men and women in the real world. These aren't problems caused by men, but by the expectations that society has for men. Some examples are telling men not to cry, be aggressive, be dominant, and self-reliant. These traits are associated with a lot of psychological harm. Trying to hold back tears doesn't make the feelings we have go away. Being aggressive doesn't make people want to be around us. These social norms and expectations can cause isolation and alienation. If we look at a list of traits commonly associated with toxic masculinity, we can see these behaviors elicited at Bro. Aggression, hyper-competitiveness, a need to dominate others. The men at Bro are always competing with the other departments and each other. Sexual aggression or control. They constantly gawk at and objectify Purl. Or how about a tendency towards glorification of violence? This trait is very interesting. Whenever the men at Bro agree to attack other departments, they go into a zealous frenzy, taking joy and pride in the demise of others. Low empathy, in my opinion, is one of the most harmful components of toxic masculinity. Empathy is the ability to emotionally resonate with the thoughts and feelings of someone else. The power of empathy is limitless. We can provide so much love and care to those in need by sharing our lived experiences. Joy couldn't help Bing Bong because she had no empathy. Sadness is an entirely different story, although the inverse is also true. Having no empathy can have horrible consequences in our lives. When we cut out the humanistic parts of ourselves, we can become spiteful easily. Who cares if Lily's grandma died? She's in the way of my promotion. Living hedonistically like this can sound gratifying, but when the tables are turned, we are like Purl in a new environment. We want people who will empathize with our struggles, to understand who we are and what we're about. This is why toxic masculinity is so pernicious. It affects men and women in harmful and lasting ways. Being aware of these trends and how they impact our perceptions of reality can make a meaningful difference. Purl gives us so much insight into what we can do to dramatically improve any workplace. For one thing, we should try not to objectify anyone, period. Look at how horrible Purl feels when everyone is staring at her hard. She seems self-conscious and miserable. If the tables were turned, I'd feel uncomfortable too. I don't think people enjoy only being thought of for how they look, not to mention how dehumanizing it feels. Another thing we can learn from this short is the power of reaching out. When a new person comes into our work, instead of looking at them strangely, maybe introduce ourselves if we feel comfortable. This cuts the tension this person is probably feeling. Plus, you might make a new friend in the process. Understanding and valuing empathy is also of the utmost importance. Empathy allows us to grow and understand more about ourselves. We might empathize with the character's plight and want to improve as they do. There may be a friend in need who wants our support. Someone else's lived experiences might give us insight. There are so many benefits to practicing empathy. By valuing empathetic interactions, we start to appreciate one another more. The change in culture at Bro illustrates the power of empathy. Before, Purl's yarn joke wasn't funny to them. Although after the workers know Purl better, they laugh at her joke because they can empathize with an experience they never had. One last thing we can learn from this short is the power of communality. It can feel logical to value and prioritize ourselves, and we should to some extent. You can't be a good friend to someone else without having your own life in order. Although, there comes a point when humans cap out on what they can do on their own. Bro hurts itself a lot as a company because they refuse to be communal. The men pretend to get along, but given the climate of the company, it seems like they care about themselves most. At the end, we can see the difference in the culture. These seem like genuine interactions from people working together. Purl somehow manages to do so much in such a short runtime. The number of complex themes this short covers with ease is astounding. We need entries like this to better understand how we interact with our environments. Norms and expectations impact us all, and we need to be cognizant of them. Understanding and addressing toxic components of our culture can make work feel like a more inclusive space for women, which will make everyone happier in the long run. Plus, addressing the more destructive elements of masculinity could be a meaningful way for men to enjoy work more as well. Let me know in the comments what you did or didn't like about Purl. Also, what's your favorite Pixar short? I'd love to hear from you.